Chairman of the Board of Selectmen, Anthony Pepe, along with Town Administrator Adam Gaudette. We're going to go over the state of the town. They'll do a summary, and we'll take calls as soon as they're finished. So hang in there and stay with us. Welcome, gentlemen.
Gary, thanks for having us.
Yep, thanks for having us.
So, Mr. Pepe, we'll leave it up to you to start this off.
Well, basically what we're going to do is probably do a discussion of the year 2014 in summary. It won't be news to anyone that we had an up and down year in 2014. And so we'll go through some of the highlights. Some may consider them some lowlights, but we'll start with the highlights. At our annual town meeting, we awarded the Meritorious Public Service Award. We awarded two of them. The first one went to Donna Moore and Flannery for her many community efforts and her years and years working with Toys for Tots. She's a wonderful person. I'm on the Exchange Club with her, and her public service is unparalleled. She does a lot of work for the town.
Great job.
She does. And then we also honored someone that we're familiar with, that we've worked with, the Berthium family, for all their public service, particularly in bringing back, bringing Spencer Fun Day and bringing back fireworks, the Children's Halloween Party, and the ever-popular Christmas Parade of Lights. So we honored two folks that were, and a family, that were well-deserving.
Well-deserved.
Well-deserved.
They did a great job.
Next, I'd like to talk about how the political landscape changed a little bit in 2014 into 15, particularly on Beacon Hill, because it's very important for us because we work closely with that group. They're our advocates on Beacon Hill, so it's very important that we establish a good working relationship with that group. And we had a busy election year in 2014. 2014 saw the election of new representation, but also the retirement of a political icon in this area. Senator Steve Brewer decided after decades of service that he wasn't going to run in 2014. His service to his constituents is unparalleled. No one served his people like Senator Brewer. His leadership on Beacon Hill and the key committees that he served on, that leadership would be missed by his district. And he set the bar high for constituency advocacy, and his act will be hard to follow. So thank you, Senator Brewer, for all your service to this town. We appreciate it. But as far as the elections, current Representative Peter Durant retained his seat at the State House for the 6th Worcester District, and moved up and took Senator Brewer's seat in his district in the State Senate. Congratulations to Ann. And our buddy, Donnie Berthium, won a state representative seat for the 5th Worcester District. I believe we're very, very fortunate to be represented by those folks, all residents of Spencer, and I think we'll have strong advocates on Beacon Hill.
I agree. I can't say enough, and when they were in last week, that's what we said, is you have to congratulate them for what they did. Congratulations to Ann, because Ann and Donnie, really, it was new. Peter does a good job. I mean, I know a lot of people in his area, and I'll tell you, they think the world of him. And, I'm hoping that it's all good for the town, at least for us, anyways.
Can't hurt. All three of our delegates being from town.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And the day after they were seated, we were on them about how many things. So it's good. I think we'll have a good working relationship with the group. So look forward to working with them all. And the Board of Selectmen, welcome to new members. Some of you may be familiar with Chris Woodbury. And have you asked him if he's having fun yet? Or
it's funny, but I'll tell a quick story because everybody laughs. My wife, being the senior center director, goes to staff meetings, and Adam may say something, and she'll say, "Gary didn't tell me that. I don't talk about it at home, and they're not allowed to. It's just, and him being 40, you know what? He's going to set his own way, but it's funny. Yeah, we don't allow it in the house, and it's comical for me."
As far as the ranks of the town hall, we saw the retirement of some key staff. Treasurer Collector Mary Barrell and Veterans Agent Peter Rock both retired. We'd like to thank them for their years of service to the town, but we'd also like to welcome our newly elected Treasurer Collector Suzanne LeCaire and the new veterans agent, Tim Gagnon, and we hope them great success in their new positions. Now we'll move on to the difficult stuff. 2014 saw a continuation of some fiscal challenges for the town. There's no secret that we struggled with the budget, particularly with the funding for the school in 2014, and it continued in 2015. We started the year with a deficit. Correct me if I'm wrong, but so we struggled with that issue going right on day one. So we as a group, as a board, and with the help of the administrator, we tried to figure out how to balance the fiscal year 15 budget, and we had multiple public hearings. We had all the department heads come in, describe their budgets, describe their services. At the very least, I think we gave a good education to the town as to what these departments really do, and the services they offer, and the volume of transactions and services that they handle. They discussed what they did and what balancing the budget on town services on the town and how that would affect their departments and the services they offered. In the end, after hearing all this, I think you as a board you have to trust your management and his managers on what the right thing to do is. And we agreed as a board that we should seek a Proposition 2.5 override to restore services to what they were in 2013, roughly bringing them back to that level of service, and also see if we could utilize the Maple Street School as a senior center. Unfortunately, that override did not pass at the ballot box, and we respect to the voice of the people. And as a result, we had to it affected some headcount, some part-time employees.
We had to implement some reductions based on the fact that the revenue wasn't there to support the expenses.
Right, the greater impacts were the library was hit very, very hard with the cuts. Yep. It affected their hours and their services, as they told us. Parks and Rec got hit very hard. I mean, the entire budget basically was eliminated, and that led to some very public signs that they were affected. Because of safety concerns, at that moment, we decided to close Luther Hill Park. It was very difficult, not popular, but we were looking out for the public safety of our town. We lost the ability to move the seniors to Maple Street. That didn't happen, and we saw a decrease in some fire training and some police overtime.
Town hall also was closed.
Yeah.
We eliminated the night hours and closed on Thursdays.
Right. So those hours were affected. Now, as we go forward, we're an open-minded board. If there's a way to restore any of these services within the constraints of the budget, we'll look to do so. And again, we'll have our presentations from the various departments on what they're looking for and move forward. But at the same time, we're not standing still. I mean, we will continue to push our delegation to Beacon Hill for all our local aid, and let them know how important that is, as well as look for grants to help fund our budgets, and money that was on the docket to be sent to us for special road projects and so forth. So we will continue to look for funding sources and to press. Now, having said that about the school situation, I'd like to also thank the committee and the work they did to establish their budget. That override request could have been a lot worse, but they went back, did their due diligence, and eliminated the need for a school component to that override, to the override that we asked for. So we'd like to thank them for their efforts. Now again, we're not standing still. We're looking at multiple ways to streamline operations and to save money. And one of those ideas that you were actively involved in was the review of the transfer station. We were running a deficit in there. We were wondering how could we cut into that deficit and still maintain the service that we offer to the town. After several public meetings, we decided for the first time in many, many years to increase the cost of the sticker and bag fees. And it's the first time since 2002. We also reconfigured the recycling,
Yep.
the drop-off itself, and in the end, it's still a good bargain to the town. They pay less, much less than many of the surrounding towns. I don't know if you want to add to
The only other thing we did is we closed 1 day a week.
1 day.
And we were open 3 days a week prior, and now we're open 2. We also took ownership of the operations there, and
Right.
and now a town serviced by town personnel. And then we redid our contracts as well to try and save money as best we could. So definitely changes this year, and we'll see what kind of outcome we have when we bounce the budget at the end in June 30th and see how we did. And hopefully we'll be able to move forward in that manner.
Great. During the year, a Veterans Memorial Advisory Committee was established. There was an effort spearheaded by the Exchange Club to create a citizen soldier memorial at the Prouty Park. Is that what it's called?
Isaac Prouty Park. Yeah.
Isaac Prouty Park. And they had received a significant grant through the efforts of Senator Brewer to help fund for that at a significant dollar amount. So that group was brought together to discuss how the project would be done, get designs and costs for the project. We had gone, and I was a member of that committee. We had gone pretty far in the process, and due to the large state budget, that piece of funding, which was about $185,000, were part of the cuts by Governor Baker. We were worried that would happen because of the large deficit that was in Beacon Hill, that something like that would be victim to the cuts. So it was cut. So we decided to put the effort on hold and disband the committee. But we do have a nice set of plans out there that can be resurrected at whatever point if the town or another or if additional grants come in for that we can resurrect the effort and move forward. But it was a very nice plan. It would have been a very nice addition to the town in that park. We also had we had continued efforts by the Sugden Block Sale Committee. We actually worked towards getting an RFP created, and it was actually sent advertised. And well, I was happy about it. I saw that we got responses or interest from several parties, and we'll see where that goes, and see what in the end if they actually make proposals. And
the RFP proposals are due on March 23rd. So, I think we had about 12 or 15 people pull the RFP, and hopefully we'll get a number of submittals and have some options to pick from for the committee.
Yeah. Now, we had talked about schools and local aid. I think our board was very proactive in discussing. We all think that the calculation, the school funding formula, is outdated and broken. So, under the direction of the board, Administrator Gaudet got together a roundtable discussion from surrounding towns and I believe some representation on Beacon Hill to discuss the various districts' concerns about the current funding model. And it's good to see that somebody must be listening because that group that you're a part of now, which you can elaborate on, is continuing the conversation. And that's something we've got to, it's a broken system. It's got to be fixed. It should, the state is mandating that we fulfill our social contract to the public schools, which we should, but it's the calculation's archaic, and I don't think it takes into consideration the true cost of running a district, and it's got to be updated.
Well, a couple different things. education reform came in 1993. So education finance was revised then. And they basically established a criteria or formula that would create a minimum local contribution for each community. In addition to that, in 2007, they established a funding model called the target share. So the state would like to shift its responsibility in what it pays to the communities in Chapter 70, and then what the towns pays, and basically, shift that burden more to the towns and less onto the state. So as part of that, the towns have responsibilities to contribute to their schools at a minimum level called minimum local contribution. The problem for the town of Spencer is that minimum local contribution has been more than our new revenue. Last year it was over 100% of the amount of new revenue we received in Proposition 2.5 new levy. So right off the bat, all of that money would be going to fund the school's minimum local contribution rate, and there would be nothing left on the town side. And with that, combined with our deficit that we incurred the year before, that created the cuts that we had this past year. So we're anxiously awaiting the new numbers to come from the Department of Revenue and the Governor's office this week. His budget will be announced on Wednesday, the 4th. And at that point, we hope to receive the minimum local contribution for next year, for FY16. So we'll know how much we have to contribute at the minimum level, and then once we receive the assessments from the regional school districts, we'll have a better understanding of what they're looking for and how that's tied to the minimum local contribution. However, our increase last year was 5.66% at the minimum local. We're only dealing with Proposition 2.5, and the education is about half of our budget. So right off the bat, we were in the hole. So something needs to change. Our bubble burst last year, and it did for a lot of other towns. The state has a commission that's set up that's reviewing the foundation budget formula, and that's where I was on Saturday to present some testimony and educate people about the issues that we're having here in Spencer. And there was probably 50 to 75 other people looking to do the same thing. Everything from the amount of money that's in the formula that's targeted for special education, for transportation, reimbursement rates. So there's a lot of complexities to the foundation budget formula. Obviously ours was how it impacts the ability to fund other services, and that we hope there's a reasonable solution at the end of this review. There will be nothing that comes out in time for the FY 2016 budget, but hopefully in time for the FY 2017 budget. They're making some adjustments to the formula that's compatible for everybody.
I know before we keep going, because I read the write-up you did, and I got to say I was pretty amazed that, and if you could just touch back on it, because you did a minute ago, on the 2.5% increase that we as a town, as any town, can increase your taxes no more than 2.5%. What percentage of the school eats that if it was just
well,
based
last year
on that?
it was 120%. So last year our new levy from Proposition 2.5 was $287,000. Our minimum local contribution increase to go to the regional school districts was $345,000. So it was $60,000 plus more than we were going to be taking in from our 2.5. So with state aid staying flat and local receipts staying flat, and that's your only new money, you already know you have to make a cut in your budget before you even look at anything that's an increase in your budget. And last year we not only have a $500,000 deficit, but then we had increases in pension liability, we have increases in insurance, we have contract obligations with our employment personnel, which they were due. They had taken wage freezes in FY 10, 11, and 12. So we're trying to balance the budget the best we can, and when the revenue does not cover the cost of your expenses, you can't make up new revenue. Well, we tried. We actually asked for override in the fall as well, and that wasn't passed. So when you don't have the additional revenue to cover the expenses or the increases in your assessments, increases in your mandates, there's only one thing left to do, and that's to cut your expenses, and that's unfortunately what we had to do this past year.
Right, and so just to touch base, because so the people at home get a good understanding of what really happens within town government, because if you really don't see it a lot, but I can remember when the Quinn bill came out, the state was 100%, now it's 50-50, I think, in those towns that voted for it. That's another bill that the town's faced with. So as we look at it, and I was really happy when the delegation was in the last meeting for Ann to say that, they know the system's broke. So,
funding for the Quinn bill actually in Spencer is zero. So we have zero contribution from the state. It used to be 100%.
Right.
Actually, I'm taking it back. It used to be 50-50. So we used to receive about 160,000. Then they decreased it down to 80, and eventually it went away. So we worked with our unions back 2011, I think, to try to figure out how to deal with that. So we created our own education incentive plan within our contracts. You want to promote educated officers. You want to promote officers to continue education once they're in. So we tried to come up with a plan that was compatible. It wasn't as lucrative as the state plan when the state plan was, the Quinn Bill was fully funded. So we had to deal with that. That was another give, if you will, that our employees were willing to move on in order to make things fit. So yeah, I mean, we met with our delegates last week, and we pleaded them to keep local aid. And so far, Governor Baker has stated that he's determined to keep local aid at least the level that we're at now. So that's good to hear. However, we are still $600,000 below where we were in 2008. In 2008, we received about $2.8 million in unrestricted government aid. That's money that goes to help fund our general government items. And it's only 2.2 this year. So $600,000 less. Level is still behind. We're still making that ground up. And when other costs are going up, we can't keep up. The education assessments, as I said, went up 5.66% last year. We're dealing with Proposition 2.5 and a 0% increase in local aid. It doesn't add up for us.
Which, again, 6 years down the road, we're still trying to kick the can, and we're so far behind that that it affects people on our side. But
Nothing's more frustrating than getting some of these mandates that have promised funding or are unfunded, and we've got to find a way to pay for these things. When of the ones that are reimbursable, we're at the whim of Beacon Hill as far as our reimbursement many times.
You can go down the list of programs
Yep.
that were a great idea at the
I
state
made
level.
that comment
Regional school
because-
transportation is a huge
Yep,
one.
right.
Out of district vocational transportation.
Yeah,
All those things were originally proposed to be fully funded. Now the law basically says if it's not fully funded, you still have to pay. You still have to make it work. And where does it come from? It comes from the town side. If you don't have the revenue to meet that, you're making cuts, and that's where we're going.
And that was, you stole some of my thunder. That was one of the items I was going to discuss. You're currently working on with our delegation to push that issue along.
Yeah, there's a couple different things. One is that the governor instituted in his 9C cuts a cut to regional transportation aid. So that affects school districts, regional school districts. We have two. We have Spencer East Brookfield Regional School District, and we also have Bay Path, Southern Worcester County. So they are going to encounter a loss of revenue. Senator Goby's pledged to try and work with the governor to try and put some of that money back, either through a supplemental budget transfer later in the year, so that we can hopefully fully fund regional transportation, regional school transportation. The other thing that we're talking about, that Tony, you mentioned, is out-of-district vocational ed, and that's something we're working again with Senator Goby. She filed another bill for us on our behalf to try and work with the obligations of that assessment, or those mandates to pay transportation costs to send students out of district when the program's not offered in district. I think we do a pretty good job with Spencer East Brookfield and also the programs that are offered at Bay Path. And I understand there's an obligation for equal opportunity for educational opportunities, but when the cost is 4 and 5 times what it would be to spend to send the kid in district, it's a killer. And we hope that there's some changes moving forward.
Well, like as I said, as a board, even though we've gone through some trying financial times, we're not sitting still. There's one thing I've been very proud about during our time on the board is that we've asked our administrator to be creative in both, regionalizing to streamline costs for a function, or aggressively going after some grants, like the development block grants you've gone after, the CDBG grants. Why don't you go over some of those
Sure.
that we've gotten in the last year?
Sure. We started back in 2008 with our first award since the 90s. The program is offered by, originally it's at HUD, which is Housing and Urban Development, and then they transfer funds to the state version of HUD, which is called the Department of Housing and Community Development.
Okay.
They will then have an application process for towns that have needs in terms of housing rehabilitation, low to moderate income issues. We do social service programs, infrastructure projects, etc. So we have been successful to get 4 grants in the last 6 years. We've done a lot of housing rehabilitation. It's definitely at first a housing program. So we are able to help people with low to moderate income homes or with tenants that are of low to moderate income, and we're able to fix up and bring up to code those structures, whether it be sanitary or roofing, housing, envelope issues, bring those back online, and for people that couldn't afford to bring their homes up to where they need to be and meet code requirements. That's a huge advantage of the program. We're also doing some infrastructure projects. We are going to be doing Mechanic Street this year. That was part of a downtown study that's in conjunction with some of the other downtown work that we're doing. We had a downtown economic development study, and we're about to wrap up a downtown property assessment study. So we hope to have that final report. We're kind of, some of the staff and I are reviewing that right now, the draft report, and we hope to have a presentation to the Board of Selectmen in the next month or so with recommendations for improving some of the structures that are either dilapidated or falling down or just underutilized, that maybe there may be opportunities for other grant programs or some other economic development opportunities to hopefully bring some thriving activity back to our downtown.
And that's critical. I mean, I think our board has established, and I think I can speak for the board, that we've done enough belt tightening and wringing our hands over financial issues. We decided that we really want to aggressively go after the idea of economic development for the town. The revitalization program is one of them. We're hoping that those suggestions we can use some of those suggestions, whether they're tax incentives for property owners or business owners, whatever we can offer, whatever tools we have in our toolkit, we want to offer it to our existing business owners or people who want to come into town and open a business, to get them in and to increase economic activity in Spencer. So we're being very aggressive. Today I got off the phone with Mr. Stevens, and we're going to get the Economic Development Committee going. We're going to start reaching out to a select group of local businesses, have a first meeting with these folks, get their concerns, consult with them as to where they see economic development opportunities, and then see if we can get them involved in the ongoing interest of the committee itself, and go from there. There's many components to economic development. These consultants mentioned to us real quickly that one of the tools you can use is to increase events going on in town, and it's been very public recently that we would like to see the fairgrounds utilized more often. That's one idea. Have events going on more often in this town. It draws people, it draws foot traffic, draws people in the town, and that spurs economic activity. It's an important tenet to this board, I believe, and we're going to aggressively go after it in next year and beyond. Having said that, we've went through some negatives. I was very happy as a selectman to see that we had several small businesses move into town.
We did.
The Twisted Parlor was one. Yep. The yoga studio over up in the Sugden block. Yamato, the Japanese bistro, wonderful restaurant. Please go there and check them out.
Yep.
My wife went to the Twisted Parlor last week and had a blast. So check out all those businesses and support local businesses in town. So it was great to see those businesses come into town, and we hope that continues, despite everything that's going on around us. It's not all negative stuff. So in summary, I'd like to thank, number one, the town employees for working diligently through these tough times. They're doing a good job with a wonderful job with what they have, to use to the resources before them. I'd like to thank my fellow board members and the administrator for his efforts this year. And I'd like to thank all the committee members, all the volunteers that have helped the town and helped the town and the schools throughout the year, and all the citizens who've come out to meetings and have gotten involved and made their voices heard. It's important to us. I know you've said it before. We want to hear your point of views, and it's an important piece of the decisions we make on a daily basis in the town. So but where, that's 2014. Where are we going this year? I like to see, the economic development. I like to see more events happening in town. We're going through our current budget. We're starting that and going through that. We'll see where that holds, what that holds for us. We've been an active partner with the schools, for the last year or so. We've been actively involved in the teacher negotiations. I think we've had some success there. Economic development is the name of the game for 2015, and
I
see
agree.
If we can move forward on that.
That's what's going to help us. That's what's going to move us forward. We probably have, Aaron, about 20 more minutes, so we'll open the phone lines if anybody has any questions. And we're going to kick this around a little bit. And the good part is everything that Tony's saying and that Adam's talking about is we look for avenues that we can increase, get people to come to this town. And I always say on the show, and I say it every time we're on, is Spencer's a great town, but just because Spencer is the name of a town doesn't make it a community. What makes it a community is the people who live within it. So when those people get involved, things start to really happen. The yoga studio that's up over Sugden now. If anybody hasn't seen it, it came out gorgeous. It's a beautiful spot. And that's what we try to do is we, as a board, as the town administrator, we try to develop and come up with new ideas that maybe we can do something to have a cost savings. Doesn't mean we cut back on programs, but it's a way to give more for the same amount of money. And that's what we look at. And Tony brought up a great point when we looked at regionalization, and we kind of put Adam under the gun. It wasn't easy.
It's the name of the game these days.
It wasn't easy.
You're always looking for ways to make the money go as far as you can and maintain the services, creative ideas. And our neighboring towns are looking to do the same. So it's you usually have a willing partner in some of these activities.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to through the economic development activities. Since we put that up as a goal, just even a visit to some of these businesses from us goes a long way with some of these businesses, and hearing some of their concerns, and we want to make that a process in this town to hear their voice more often. Sometimes we get bogged down with the operations of the town, the services and the management of the books. That I think we should also listen to, as we listen to our citizens, I want to listen to the businesses in town and see what they can offer us as far as guidance to move forward.
And I think that's a great point. It's a good starting point. I remember when Barnstorm came in, and if you haven't really had a chance to talk to John Stevens about it, he was involved with that, and that's a passion of his, is to get local business to come in here. And I think about Timmy Ahern Equipment. He was working out of his house in North Brookfield. He came to Spencer. He built a beautiful building. They've grown. It's good to see that part of Ragsdale's property is reactivated again. It's sad to see a building sit there and not
right.
be utilized. So, as we try to direct and hopefully get people interested, as you talk to the businesses, maybe there's something we can do. So, my hat's off to you guys for that, because I think that's a great place to start.
Yeah, there's we'll always work on controlling our costs and watching out for the citizens as far as what town government is costing them every year. But we've got to look at the other side of the ledger too, and spur some growth if we can for the town.
Yeah, and hopefully we can. Adam, I know we talked about. Everybody knows that if you watched that last meeting, it was about snow and ice, and this winter we seem to be taking a beating. But I was asked a question: how can you guys just keep spending $300,000? Well, maybe you can explain how that works.
How? I think it's a matter of.
It's not an option.
I don't think it's an
know,
option. I think if obviously a clean street during a snowstorm and after a snowstorm is essential to the economy. It's essential to public safety. It's essential to education, getting kids back and forth to school. So it's right up there in terms of the top 1 or 2 priorities, and that's maintaining our roads. And our limited workforce does an amazing job. We supplement that with private contractors, and they're out there, and I know they've had a hard winter and working two days straight sometimes, and then having to come back in and do their regular shift. So it's a lot of work, it's a lot of roads, and this is a very large town, miles-wise, a very large town. Area-wise, so we only have 8 guys on staff, and 2 of them are mechanics, and things break down. So as you can imagine, how much activity we've had this year, that we've had a lot of breakdowns, and that takes guys out of the plow and into the shop. So they are doing the best they can. In terms of the cost that we have have the materials. I mean, that's our largest cost with keeping the roads clean is salt and sand, and primarily salt. So that's a huge number. In addition to that, we have expenses of hiring private contractors. When you only have 8 guys on staff in 121 miles of public road, in addition to that, we do some private roads, you have to supplement that with private contractors, like most towns do. And that costs, and they get paid a certain rate. We advertise that rate, and there's a competitive rate, but it's also within reason, and for those services. And obviously, the more storms we have, the more those services are used, the larger cost that you have in terms of expenses going out to contractors. So we start with a very modest budget that is usually not enough on a yearly basis to fund our full program. So with that, we usually have to, knowing in the budget year, we pretty much know that in the following spring we're going to have to balance our budget with any surplus revenue that we have, and we typically do that, and this year will be no different. We're probably at a record in terms of the amount of expenditures that we have this year, but I don't think anybody should be surprised by that. If you just step outside or watch the news, you can see that every town in Massachusetts is facing it. The governor last week was in Washington, D.C., looking for federal aid, trying to declare a state of emergency for the state of Massachusetts for the events that we've had. The blizzard that we had at the end of January, that has been qualified, and we are looking to get reimbursement from the Federal Emergency Management Association for our expenses during that event. However, that was only one of many. So again, it costs money to plow roads. I don't think anyone's blind to that fact, and the more snow you have and the more plowing activity you're going to have, the higher the cost.
Yeah,
so
there's
pretty simple.
There's no fluff in there. It's the materials. The cost of salt is just hit the roof as far as that material, and it's just your manpower, which we could trace in our financials, and the cost of your outside vendors. And we do everything by the book. I mean, as one account we're allowed to deficit spend on, we do put a moderate amount of money into that budget, knowing, like every other town in the Commonwealth, that if it's a bad winter, you're going to deficit spend.
I think I was at a meeting last week in Boston with some other managers and mayors from different communities, and we were talking about snow and ice. And one thing that people should realize is a lot of towns go into the following year with a deficit. So you can actually end and close out June 30th with a deficit in your snow and ice account. However, that money needs to be balanced on the following tax year budget. We do not do that. We will balance our budget before June 30th of this year. That's our #1 priority. We do that every year, and anything we have left, we use for capital. Some towns out there, if they run $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 over on June 30th, they let that sit there, and it comes out of either next year's room and they take it right off the top out of their new levy, or they're making cuts within their budget, or they're asking for an override, or what have you, in order to balance their following year's budget. We do not do that to our taxpayers. We take any surplus revenue that we have, any funds available, we will balance this year's budget before June 30th, and we will do that again this year with our snow and ice budget. So I think that the folks in town should take note that we will not cut things next year, as some towns will be forced to do. We will not ask for an override next year to fund snow and ice this year, to balance this year's budget. We will be using our surplus revenue in hand. It does impact our ability to fund capital projects. However, we will not be increasing taxes or having a deficit moving forward. We will balance June 30th.
That goes into a larger point, Gary, and we know this very well. We have sound conservative fiscal management in this town. Everything that's happened to us has been things that we will argue that have been kind of out of our
We don't have control, for sure.
Right. So we've been told in our several audits that we use sound fiscal management and policies. So that's another thing I'm very proud of this town the way we manage our operations and our books. We're very fiscally conservative.
Which I have to say, and you know, we all know because we do it all the time, is that you know the burden that's put on us sometimes to try to come up with solutions. Sometimes it just stinks to have to make them. The other thing I want to touch on, just because I was reading, is hats off to the fire department for clearing the roof at the school. I think that's very important. Again, our fire department's volunteer. And yeah, they get paid a stipend. It's not a whole lot of money, but that's the type of citizens that we have in this town that get out there and do it. So I just want to mention that because, you know, just before I came here, another barn collapsed somewhere and a skating rink. So, I mean, you know, hats off to those guys. They do a great job. Speaking of which, we had a fire truck go down this year. Tough situation. Front line. Again, we were put under the gun. What do we do? And through some, I think, creative thinking, we came up with a solution that's going to benefit, but that only kicks the can down the road. So, I mean,
we did whatever we could to fit it in that year's budget, and that was after making the cuts that we made. So we did have to use a little bit of retained earnings or free cash in our version to pay for that loan, if you will. But we did not ask for a debt exclusion,
right,
as has been done in the past. That doesn't mean we won't have to do one in the future, but with that truck, we took it on the chin and we made some modifications, kicking things down the road in order to again, you're going to have certain priorities throughout the year and certain priorities within your budget. Plowing the roads and putting out fires and public safety is as high as you can get on the priority list. So those are easy decisions to make, and that it was a need that had to be filled. The hard part is actually how do you get it done, and that's our job.
Right, and these aren't decisions that are taken lightly either. You were down there, I was down there with Chris. We inspected those trucks, you know, and used our, you know, at least my limited knowledge of this stuff just to see, you know, how much of a need there was for this item. So we you know, spent man hours going down there and looking at these the vehicles that need to be replaced and the vehicle they were looking at. So it's not, these decisions are not taken lightly. We work hard and we do our due diligence, to use a hackneyed phrase, to come to our decisions.
which we really do. I mean, you know, at this board, you know, and you know, we're very fortunate that we have Adam as our town administrator because, you know, we all have different personalities, let's face it. But at the end of the day, I think our main objective is what kind of guidance do we give to the town administrator to hopefully move the town forward with what limited resources we have. And as a board, try to come up with a consensus that, listen, you know what, we all don't get our own way. I don't want people to think, and you know, some of our executive sessions get loud. But,
Yep.
but at the end of the day, it's what's right for the town. It's where we're headed. And a good example is the transfer station. I hope it works. Single stream seems to work fine. And that's the stuff, as a board, we don't take lightly. I mean, we knew it was running in the red deep. And, you know, I mean, it cost me $12.50 for the bags, but you know what? I'm still happy every time I drive down that I can just throw it in there. So, I mean, those are decisions we make as a board that hopefully will move us forward. So,
You like to be able to tell your constituents you did as much research as you could beforehand before you go into some of these decisions. So I think we do that well as a board.
anything else, gentlemen?
No calls?
No calls, Aaron? Well, none. Must be doing a good job,
Yes,
huh?
we got the information out.
Well, I will say that, you know, this next year is going to be trying. You know, the school department will come with some type of budget. I know I was at the budget meeting, and, you know, but they also, the school committee, I'll give them credit, is they understand that the constraints that we operate under. And it seems like the line of communication is there. I know you have communications. Tony, you're still involved in the negotiations. So, I mean, even though they run the school, I mean, at least we have an opportunity to add our 2 cents. I don't know if that's a good word to use, but
As much as you can in a regional school district.
Yeah.
You know, obviously they have autonomy over there, but so far the relationship with the new superintendent and new controller has been very positive, and hope to continue that. And same with the working relationship that we had with the committee last year, and hoping that carries forward this year and future years.
And that's a good part. I don't think they're taking anything lightly. Dr. Crow, I haven't had the opportunity to meet her. I was going to have her come on the show, but with everything that she's faced with right now, you know, she's got a hands full.
Well, from my dealings with her so far, as the negotiation side, she seems to be a straight shooter, and we'll see how that all develops in the coming months.
Yeah,
So far, so good as far as I'm concerned.
And that's good. That's always good to hear. I just think that, you know, we as a board will move forward and we'll keep plugging away and doing whatever we can, and we'll look at different things to look at. I know, and I'm going to bring it up just because we're all here, but I mean, Summer Nationals coming to town. I mean, I don't know about you, my phone was ringing off, and how can you let this happen? And you know what, is anybody has a right to try to do something.
Right.
You know, and there was a lot of misconceptions. I think a lot of partial truths, a lot of maybe not so truthful. But at the end of the day, you know, whether or not the gentleman did it here or not, that was an opportunity. And we as a board, you know, we don't just go out and say, listen, you're not allowed in that town, you're allowed in that town. And you got to be open-minded. And you know, I guess as far as I know, it's canceled from what everybody's telling me. I haven't been online to look.
That's what I was told. I got a call saying that it was on a certain website. You know,
So.
and again, you know, we were just doing our part. Again, we had no decision as to whether that would take place or not. He would have to come to us, get all his permits, and come to us and get his permits approved for entertainment and liquor. But you know, it's again, sometimes you got to take bold moves. I mean, one of the tenets of a growing town is activities that occur throughout the year, and we have a good set of events that happen every year for the kids, Family Fun Day, the Christmas parade, maybe the MHPI race that happens every year. Hopefully, that's an ongoing interest. But the fairgrounds, in conjunction with the Agriculture Association, is a jewel. It's an underutilized jewel. So I think we'll have a lot of ideas to put in front of the Agricultural Association and offer up ourselves for town events. So anyone who may be discouraged at seeing this news, take heart. We're working on alternatives, and we'll have some news soon.
And just so everybody at home really understands is we as a 5-member board, we try to bring as many ideas as we can. The town administrator, through his dealing with other administrators, and you're at umpteen meetings. Seems like you're at a lot of meetings. I just want to bring that up. Oh, no. But it's suggestions, ideas that we can bring back and kick around and try to come up with solutions that maybe we can generate revenue, because that's what we need to do. That's the key to this. You know, thank God I can remember when Flexcon built, I don't know if it's Plant 5 up off of Bixby, but, you know, again, they could have gone anywhere. They have another plant in the Midwest somewhere. So, I mean, that could have very well have gone there. And they made a commitment to this town, and that's what makes this town work. And again, it's not the town of Spencer, because what makes it a community is the people. And until the people understand that they're all a part of this, everybody is.
Yeah, I truly believe, you know, and that's very important. I agree, but and also adding different pieces of the fabric that make up the community. You know, if you have a active community with a lot of things going on, you're going to draw people into your community. If you got an active community with a lot of things going on to offer people, you're going to have businesses that'll be interested in moving into that town. I don't know how long it'll take. It may take many years, but you've got to make the move to do something.
Have to start.
You can't sit still and let the years pass by. So we just thought it was time to give it a shot on some things.
Anything else?
That's it.
That's it. Wow. Short and sweet. I do want to take a minute just to thank Mr. Pepe. he was the chairman this year, and it was a tough year. We weathered through, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Because anybody who's on a board or a committee know that there's guidance and conversation that takes place, but at the end of the day, the direction of where the town goes rests on your shoulders to communicate to the administrator to make sure that the town is in good hands, I guess, and moving in the right direction. And I want to take a minute to thank the employees because, as we talked about, they lost a day. Not easy, not easy, but we're weathering through. And I think we talked about this and we said, geez, what if we had to knock down another day? You know, and I always say at that point, lock the town hall. But we're going to work hard as a board. I know Adam will work hard. He does every day. And hopefully we can keep moving.
Yeah, and thank you. You know, as I said, I echo your sentiments towards the employees. We've got great employees in town hall. We've got, I think, some of the finest public safety employees that we have. Our highway is doing an amazing job with the resources they have available to them. But also, you know, the committee, people who work on committees and take up their free time to help do positive things for this town. And for the people who've made their voices heard at meetings and through committees. And we as a board have begged for more people to voice their opinions. We take the good feedback with the bad feedback. So we want to hear everything. It'll help us shape the year we have ahead of us and do what we have to do for the town and its people.
And I know we have a lot of openings on a lot of different committees right now.
I was going to mention that. That's good.
And we're in need of people.
There should be a volunteer list on the website. There's a volunteer form on the website, and if you have any questions, call the town clerk and look at our information on our website and try and get you on.
So again, if you get the opportunity, they're going right to Spencer.
www.spencerma.gov.
Okay, so go to the website. You can talk to the town clerk, but we need volunteers. It's very important. It's what keeps the town moving. And I know there's a bunch of vacancies right now. So I mean, if you have the chance, check. Maybe something will work with your schedule. We could use you.
Or go to the website. Has an amazing amount of information. If you want to catch up with public documents that we have out there, our emails are out there. You can contact us. Call his office if you want to reach us and have a call back from us. We're all willing to talk to our constituents. Look at the meeting calendar. Go to a few meetings. Go to town meeting. Get involved. We'd love to have more people involved.
And I will tell you, is these two worked on the website, and if I can maneuver it,
there you go.
Anybody can. So I mean,
if you have any questions, call us up and we'll guide you through.
Yeah. So please do. Hopefully next year we'll keep rolling. I want to thank you both for coming in. I think it's important. Our next show is going to be next month. Hopefully we're going to. I'm going to invite the highway guys in to explain and at least talk about how tough this year was for them. I try to stay off social media, but sometimes my gets the better of me. But I can tell you is for somebody who goes out on a Sunday, they plow until 4 in the afternoon, they went home, they still go home and they have to do their driveway, shovel their walks, and turn around and they were back in at 5 in the morning. And everybody will say, well, they get paid for it, but, I don't know. I like my sleep. But so hats off to them, hats off to the fire department, hats off to you gentlemen and the rest of the board. I think it's very important. And hats off to our employees. Thank you, everybody. Good night. We'll see you next month.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.